Good evening. At the top of 6 tonight, a local sheriff under fire for a video posted on his department's official Facebook page.
The video shows St. Lucie County Sheriff Keith Pearson boasting about catching a suspect in a high-speed chase. Investigative reporter Dave Bohman tells us why critics are calling him out for it.
Yeah, I'm St. Lucie County Sheriff Keith Pearson.
Recently appointed St. Lucie County Sheriff Keith Pearson shows off the cars he says deputies used and the man accused of leading law enforcement officers on a 5-county high-speed chase. This is Pearson addressing the man directly.
Hey, what'd you think? Good? Yeah, no comment.
Brandy Kohler and her husband James had plenty to say about the video.
It was a little cocky.
No, just the bragging part of it rubbed me the wrong way.
The Kohler's daughter was struck and killed by a St. Lucie County deputy cruiser on its way to assist with a traffic stop last year. The deputy was cleared this week in the case.
It's just gross to me. It's so disrespecting to the families of all of us that he would brag.
The president of the St. Lucie County NAACP also weighed in. How would you describe the video?
Dehumanizing, racist.
Aisha Nash says the sheriff is using suspect Franklin Saunders as a prop, pointing out Saunders is only accused, not convicted, of leading deputies on a high-speed chase.
And the whole video was just dehumanizing. And that's not something that we want our sheriff, the person who's supposed to pave the way and lead the way of keeping our streets safe, to treat people who are arrested.
We asked the sheriff's public information officer to ask Sheriff Pearson to address the concerns. Sheriff Pearson did not respond to those critics. After an email and 3 phone calls, Sheriff Pearson agreed to release a written statement. This suspect is no stranger to law enforcement. He was just released from jail 5 days prior to this incident. This raw, unfiltered video, which was shot at the conclusion of this incident, is a direct message to others who want to victimize our community. Sheriff Pearson's video also had supporters who posted, "Great job, everyone involved. Good job, officers." Even the sheriff posted, hashtag, "Not in St. Lucie." There is also a timing issue with that post. It comes just 3 weeks after the deaths of Trooper Zachary Fink and trucker Arsenio Moss on I-95 after a high-speed chase in St. Lucie County. Reporting live in Port St. Lucie, Dave Bohman, WPTV News Channel 5.
We're pressing for answers into the now canceled plans to build on several state parks across Florida, including Jonathan Dickinson State Park. Tonight, our investigative team obtained documents that show Governor Ron DeSantis met with the head of the nonprofit that proposed to build the project months before those plans went public. Investigative reporter Dave Bohman has been digging into those documents you obtained, and you're joining us now with more. What'd you learn?
Well, honey, of the 180 pages we received through a public records request, one entry stood out. That was an April 10th meeting between Governor Ron DeSantis and Folds of Honor President Lieutenant Colonel Dan Rooney.
The schedule confirms the meeting at the governor's office, and 3 pages show the accomplishments of Colonel Rooney and Folds of Honor. But the meeting notes make no mention of bringing golf to a state park. At Jonathan Dickinson, Kathy and Robert Fay drove up from Boynton Beach with their dogs for overnight camping.
And when we saw all this controversy on the news, we said, hey, we need to go back up there again. It's been a while. So.
I told them about the April meeting between the leader of the nonprofit that originally planned to operate golf courses in the park and Governor DeSantis.
He knew it all along.
When he was on TV, when he acted like he never heard of it before.
It was not approved by me. I never saw that.
That was Governor DeSantis in Polk County, August 28th, when he announced the entire Great Outdoors Initiative was being scrubbed. The governor appears to say he never saw the overall plan, which included a hotel and a park on Florida's Panhandle and pickleball courts in Gulf Coast parks. Governor DeSantis was complimentary of Folds of Honor's mission to raise money for veterans' families through golf course proceeds. But he never said the plans were set in stone.
And so they had a proposal. It wasn't approved yet. There was a lot of vetting that needed to be due.
We still don't know what was discussed at that April 10th meeting. I also called Folds of Honor's Oklahoma headquarters and emailed the organization, but did not hear back. We reached out to the governor's office. A spokesperson acknowledges our email, but as yet no response. Now, we'll keep pressing the governor on his April meeting with Folds of Honor to see just what was discussed at that meeting. It might give us some insight into how far along the plans to bring golf to Jonathan Dickinson really were before the plans were scuttled.
So interesting. Was there anything else that caught your attention?
Yeah, in the nearly 200 pages, there were several pages that appear to be like a sales pitch to those who might be pushing back on the Great Outdoors Initiative. For example, this is one where it shows golf at Yosemite National Park. There were a number of items in the brochures that showed golf, hotels, and pickleball at some very iconic national and state parks. It's very possible that these were going to be used to try to show people who are skeptical, see, this stuff happens in state parks all over the country. But obviously the pushback was so strong, right, the plans were scuttled.
Strong opposition here
Very strong.
in South Florida. Dave, thank you. Other news now with the election less than 2 weeks away. We're sitting down with St. Lucie County Sheriff candidate Stephen Giordano. We're asking him very direct questions about his time as a deputy and also an internal affairs report that concluded he associated with criminals.
Giordano denies he did anything wrong, and he quit that job one day after that report was released. This is the first time in the decade since he has sat down to do an interview about what happened. Investigative reporter Dave Bohman has the exclusive tonight. Dave?
Shannon, honey, I looked at more than 100 pages of Stephen Giordano's personnel record, including that critical internal affairs report. It's from nearly 10 years ago. And Giordano calls almost all of its findings false.
Politics don't matter to me. I'm people over politics.
Stephen Giordano worked as a deputy at the St. Lucie County Sheriff's Office from 2005 until he resigned in 2015 following an internal affairs investigation.
A lot of false allegations were made, and I'm here to make sure that this does not happen to anyone else ever again.
Now he's the Democratic nominee for sheriff, running to lead the department he left. Giordano agreeing to sit down with me to talk about those allegations from an internal affairs report that cited him for association with criminals, specifically for associating with a man who the report says was involved in the sale of cocaine and prescription pills. I checked that man's background. I found he had been convicted of 10 drug-related felonies, the last one in 2016. I pressed Giordano about the relationship.
We grew up in this community. There's a lot of people here that know a lot of people. I don't know everybody's background.
But as you grew up with him, wouldn't you know?
I didn't say I grew up with him. We grew up together in the community.
The IA report cites another man with approximately 20 criminal charges who was living at Giordano's home for a few months. I dug into that individual's record. I found he was convicted of misdemeanors, DUI, and traffic charges from 1999 to 2007.
I think he painted my house. He was a friend of a friend.
He never lived with you?
I think he maybe stayed there 2 nights because he was painting the house.
The report also found Giordano was assisting a local bondsman in locating a fugitive while off duty. The IA report finds Giordano admitting he was paid $100 for his help.
No, I never helped him catch anybody to skip bond. I was never on duty. I was never in uniform. That was also a false allegation.
Giordano submitted his letter of resignation the day after the sheriff's office released its internal affairs report.
Why quit? Why not fight?
It's not that I quit. I give him 10 years of my livelihood, from 23 to 33, the best years of my life, to this agency. I was being mistreated, I felt, and disrespected through the agency, through all these BS allegations.
Stephen Giordano's personnel records also show he received high marks on performance evaluations working as a deputy, and commendations like this one in 2010 for his work on the jail's crisis intervention team that led to an increase in officer safety and decreased incidents involving the mentally ill in our jail. Giordano recently worked as a security officer at the FPL nuclear power plant in St. Lucie County. He says he quit that job to run for sheriff. Back to you.
Good evening. A West Palm Beach man is behind bars tonight, charged with voter intimidation. Last week, we broke the story of a polling place where our camera recorded a man yelling anti-Semitic slurs at a campaign worker.
Investigative reporter Dave Bohman, he's joining us now tonight. He has been pouring through information about this incident, the criminal charges, and the man accused of the crime. Dave?
Shannon, Michael, sheriff's deputies arrested Nicholas Farley over the weekend, citing a series of incidents at a park and at a Palm Beach County polling place. Authorities now say Nicholas Farley of West Palm Beach is the voice of anti-Semitic remarks our crews recorded at the Acreage Branch Library polling site last week.
Wow. I'm very happy that he has not been arrested.
That's campaign worker Lily Loudon, who the remarks appear to be aimed at. Nicholas Farley is now in jail. He's charged with voter intimidation and corruptly influencing voting, with both charges tacking on hate crime designations. In last week's incident, Lily Loudon says after Farley's alleged anti-Semitic slurs, he sped towards her in the parking lot.
He, swerved, I think, to spook me, and he got pretty close.
I learned that West Palm Beach charged Farley in July with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon after an African-American man says Farley, quote, stated some kind of racial slur. Then when Farley approached him, he saw, quote, what Farley was holding in his hand and was pointing at him was a gun. The charges were dropped, the alleged victim telling me by phone it was because authorities did not have proof that Farley actually pointed the gun at him. Last week, WPTV reporter Kayla McDermott went to State Attorney Dave Ehrenberg and played the audio of the anti-Semitic rantings allegedly made by Nicholas Farley.
We saw there is despicable, disgusting.
Following Farley's arrest, Ehrenberg emailed me this statement, quote, we will be reviewing the case based on the information cited in the arrest report and provided by law enforcement. The First Amendment does not protect someone from engaging in voter intimidation. And right now, Nicholas Farley sits in the Palm Beach County Jail. A judge set his bond at $200,000 after his first appearance this morning. Shannon?
And my colleague Dave Bohman is here now to tell us why getting that 60% of the votes may not be easy.
You just have to look at other states. And here, for almost 20 years now, Florida has required at least 60% of voters to approve ballot measures to change the state's constitution. Most states require just a simple majority. And when it comes to the issues of easing abortion restrictions and legalizing marijuana, a lot of state ballot measures got more than 50% of the vote, but very few got 60%. Since the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, voters in 6 states approved measures that would loosen abortion restrictions. But if these states had Florida's supermajority rule, these measures would not pass in 4 of those states. 16 states in the District of Columbia have voted on proposals to legalize marijuana for recreational use. Of the 13 that passed the measures, 10 fell short of the 60% threshold that Florida has, including the reliably blue states of California, Oregon, and Massachusetts. With those numbers in mind, do these ballot measures in Florida on marijuana and abortion face an uphill battle?
Really, it's going to be about the framing. And we already see that Governor DeSantis is framing these 2 measures as extreme. And what is going to be incumbent on the supporters of both measures is to be able to counter that.
University of Florida political science professor Daniel Smith specializes in ballot initiatives.
It's a high threshold. We are changing the state constitution. Many would argue that that makes sense, that we would have a supermajority, but it's no piece of cake, that's for sure.
Public opinion on ballot initiatives can change quickly. In 2014, a plan to legalize medical marijuana in Florida received just 57% of the vote. It failed. 2 years later, medical marijuana was legalized after 71% of voters said yes. Shannon, back to you.
Dave Bohman speaking.